company that said they're putting out a bike that only runs on gas.
That's hilarious.
You
I
know,
always, oh, I see what's
one of my favorite artists, they posted saying they're trying one of their webcomics into like an animated series. I was so excited because they made an animation for it and everything. It looked so good. And then yeah, I read
I saw the mind
well, the thing that brings the player in is, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I'm so sorry.
You're all good.
But like,
mess something up, so.
ruin has come to this family and it's affecting the town around it, and this person messed up something they shouldn't have, and so they've got to right this wrong, and just fixing things is, I feel like, a good motivation for people, because if someone sees something that's not working, or like take your example, something that's wrong, and they're like, hey, I want to fix this, I want to make this functional again.
Yep. So anytime they can fix anything, if there's a, what are some examples in a, since most D&Ds are start out in some sort of tavern or small village or something, what are some examples around a village that could be kind of that shared project situation? Like a fixing of things. What do you got?
Destruction in a village.
Destruction in a village, and that allows a lot, like starting with that as a nugget. What are some possible plot points that started that? We'll just go around the table. You start.
I'm not 100% sure what the question is.
Okay.
Are you saying like what directions can this go, or what might have caused this?
What might have caused it? So we have destruction in a village. Sometimes, and just like we've talked about in other times, like the why or the how. How did that? What caused that destruction? Why is it there? Like what's one possible why for that could be motivating?
Well, it's always been my philosophy to bring the main antagonist into a campaign as soon as possible. So maybe it was the work of some of his minions.
Okay, or like in the Horde of the Dragon Queen, the town's being attacked by the cult, right? What do you got? If you're thinking like there's a small village, there's destruction. What's one possible thing that could be causing it? That might be like a plot hook for a party to make them think bigger than themselves.
I'm thinking.
Sure.
Can you repeat the question again?
So if there's a village that has destruction and you're kind of your party's kind of stumbling into it, what is a possible motivating? What's something that could have caused that destruction?
I'm trying to think of something other than what he said, antagonist.
Okay. So sometimes thinking about the context. So he did like a political kind of context or that sort of thing. Say you're in this town is in the middle of a very flat plain, and it's just the only thing visible for miles, and farmers just farm. But then you get to this town, and it's half destroyed.
I would think like maybe weather conditions. Or
Yeah. So a tornado comes through, and people are like, "We hadn't had a tornado in near 40 years or something," and you get like a Texas style, where'd that twister come from, and is it magic or is it natural? Yeah. Josh, what do you got?
Oh, I was thinking the mayor or leader of the city could be like taxing people a lot, like big money, like 70%.
Yeah.
And they could just be poor and then can't really
Didn't you use that?
Yeah.
No.
That's yeah. So taxes that are destroying a town, like everything is run down because nobody has money to fix anything. That's great.
Yeah.
Enrique, what do you got?
My mind jumped to maybe there's like a war somewhere else on the continent, and it's not necessarily that this town was destroyed, but all the young, healthy people have been conscripted, and so there's no one really left to take care of everything.
Oh yeah. So you only have elderly and children, and no one strong to swing a hammer, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
A big, large herd of mimics comes out of nowhere, and it's like, wait, that pottery was from my grandmother. Turns into a mimic, and there's something that triggers all these items in the town to become mimics. So that's really funny.
Yeah. There's not a person in the room who's just really obsessed with mimics and campaigns. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, true.
I was gonna say war. But,
Okay, so give us a spin on war. Like there are varieties,
spin on
right?
war.
So he used conscription
Oh
for
yeah,
war,
conscription.
right?
I was thinking more like the village was like raised
Yeah.
after a battle.
Yep. So then they're
Raised
a
in
borderland
Yeah.
village, right? Yep. I've used someone walking into a village that has an approach that the next morning an approaching army came for conquest, and they end up convincing the party ended up convincing to do the person to do a right of war by champion situation. So
The building could be abandoned.
okay, so buildings could be abandoned and they're just run down and abandoned. Yeah, parts of the village.
I was gonna say about your war concept. Another way you could do it is you could have the village under martial law and there being mercenaries just bossing everyone around.
Mm.
That'd be an interesting concept because it sets an interesting atmosphere, and the players they need to think of creative ideas on how to solve this. Because if there's enough people, then you can't just fight them all. So you gotta think of your own tactics and how you're gonna change the situation.
True. Jackie, what do you got?
Industrial waste from a nearby factory.
And I like that. How would you do industrial waste in like the medieval magic setting?
Magical waste.
Okay.
Fairy
Like,
godmother.
Some
Factory
one
and
medieval,
Spell plague or something.
some one medieval peasant just immediately discovers the
I mean, okay, because like
ability of like depleted uranium.
they have like warforged and stuff.
Yeah,
like
that's
so,
true.
I mean, like they do like metal like forging and
Yeah,
stuff, which
yeah.
creates plenty of like plumes of like coal and stuff, which is particularly hazardous, especially if it gets in your water supply.
I like that. I also like the idea of like a newly founded magic college
That's
where
what
they're
I was gonna say.
having
Also like magical waste.
everyone's having all the first years are practicing all these low level spells, but they're doing it poorly, and
Yeah.
so some of the components are kind of just getting
Into the environment.
dumped into
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
Invasive plant species.
Invasive plant species. Yeah,
It's like cats on Hawaii. They introduced some kind of species that isn't indigenous to there,
Yeah.
and it's wreaking havoc in the environment.
a
They
village
introduced
infested by
that kind of
Tressum.
stuff.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
I remember them introducing a species to get rid of an introduced species, and
Mhm.
it took care of the problem. And now that species was becoming a problem.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the best way to deal with invasive species, but yeah.
I like that. Those are all good. Okay, let me go back to my definition real fast. Just so okay, so epic meaning and calling about where people are motivated by being part of something larger than themselves, motivated by the belief that they're engaged in something important or special. And so we've talked about like story plots. What are ways sometimes
I'm gonna be right back.
yeah, sure. You're not required to be here. It's okay.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. I had to.
Wait, what?
Here, Jackie, can you just twist this?
I don't know. I didn't mean it. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did.
Genius.
I'm really sorry. I am enjoying this.
You know, I'm sure my students have meant it for real sometimes.
No, yeah, I'm really sorry. I did not mean that.
Actually,
That was rude for no reason.
It's okay. You're in a safe space. I'm not apparently, but
I'm so sorry.
Time is money. And
that's so
I'm in debt.
great.
I don't know. That was so mean.
That's fine. It was actually really good. It was perfect. It was well played.
Oh, I'm like this.
I do. So those are things in the story, and so I like this, and even the like choosing an ideology kind of helps us make us shift into it. But these are things that might get characters connected, right? A character who either wants to get into the secret society, a character who maybe has some specialized knowledge in one of these areas, or it gives a chance. What I love about the disrepair angle was also that characters could then you get to use a part of the character sheet that people don't use all that often, and that's the tool proficiencies. So it can be a great way to get people to use. Yeah, some people struggle with how to incorporate them, but I like that. Like if things are in disrepair, getting people to use those tool proficiencies as part of their and so that it can be like doing whole like week-long jumps as they try and repair the city or town.
There's a Pathfinder 2nd edition module I think you really, really like.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's like an important aspect. It's like city management.
I really do. Like, I like a good city. Like, like a kingdom management campaign. I've got one I'm running with her and a couple and like Dave and IT.
Yeah.
And he is and I have them running a hotel. So I like kingdom management campaigns.
I mean, I'd recommend the Pathfinder Kingmaker video game then,
Yeah, that's another
because it's like
What maker?
Pathfinder Kingmaker. It's basically the
Oh,
whole
Kingmaker. Okay.
yeah. Basically, it's like a D&D adventure combined with a kingdom management.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and especially because I mean, I didn't realize how formative Fallout was in many ways, but also just I have epic fantasy, so thinking about the kingdom management type things is.
I'm back.
We missed you, but it did give an opportunity for a sick burn. So some of these things are plot hooks that might motivate the characters of players. What are things? How do you sell D&D as far as an epic, giving someone an epicing, meaning something being part of something bigger than themselves as players?
Game good. Game good.
Game good. That's a great start. Yeah.
I would say give them an antagonist that they can hate. That way, the players themselves are motivated and not just the characters. So they actually want to take this guy down and they have a reason to keep showing up.
Irritates the junk out of me. Yeah.
A persuasion check.
What do you mean by that?
Rolling dice, see if your friend, if your persuasion's good enough, if your friend agrees.
Okay.
By
I'm
rolling-
sorry, we rolled a nat 20 to persuade you to stay here, so you don't get to leave. So while you feel like you have freedom to leave, you're forced to be here. Right, Jack?
Oh yes, D&D is the best game ever.
That one.
What was it?
Right.
15.
Oh, that's
So-
not bad.
So I just, in case you want to know how I sell this, like I did this in class the other day, because the D&D club is probably the least obvious part of how I spend my time. Like most people see the value in like me doing my job, or me spending time with my kids or my wife, or me volunteering on Wednesdays and mentoring guys who are like 6th to 12th grade. The D&D club I enjoy. And you guys don't get me wrong. Like there's this is fun for me. There's also the reason I like D&D, and you guys have heard me say this part, is like it's a collaborative group storytelling game. It brings people together. If you guys want to know like why I decided to do a club, it ties to some of my research connected to the loneliness epidemic, and so and some of the things that as I deal with research about the valley and how fast and more engage with families and kind of I don't know how I'm going to try to articulate this well with sick brain. The Phoenix area is kind of bad at connection. Just as a culture comparative to other cultures, like there is a lot of siloing that happens. And if you haven't been around for 8 years, because of how some of the cycling, there's research that shows that Phoenix has people who will move if they come in and buy a house, they will move. Like 50% of the people who move in will be gone in 3 years, or it's actually 25. I did the math. I did the stats wrong. But if you say you're living on a block, and maybe this is more for like if you think about the perspective of your parents and whether they would go out and talk to neighbors or not, but whoever owns the house. So if you're living on a block and you have 4 families move in, and the first one moves out within 6 months or a year, and the second house moves out within 2 years, and the third house moves out in 5 years, and then the last one's the only one that stays. And then that cycle repeats. So 3 of those houses start recycling. And so you end up going through like 5 or 6 families in 5 years. That's kind of what the data shows Phoenix is like in community. And aside from that, we have a really strange balance of politics, which, and people don't really know how to talk to each other about that. But I'm getting there. Part of the reason for the D&D club is also helping people interact for me. And so in my mind, it's helping build community in a culture and environment that struggles to build community. And the community college doesn't help with that. It makes it worse because it's really easy to be stuck between work and school and all that. So for me, like D&D is awesome for community and collaboration and having just fun around the table, which is why I love it as a game, as my chosen life game at this point. Though I've been loving expanding. But from a big picture motivation, like my professional life and my personal life are having the same kind of issues where people don't know how to interact with other people and stay in community and make a regular habit of coming together. And the Surgeon General of the US a couple years ago put out a report saying this is the number one thing that's going to kill us. Like more than all the health risks we're given, like not having friends as you age in life is one of the most drastically negative affecting life expectancy. So if you want epic and meaning and calling for players around the table, for me that's one of the reasons why I do this. I don't bring that's like one, it takes too long to explain. Two, it freaks people out sometimes, and sometimes sometimes I like the way Jackie said it better, which was what was it?
Game good.
Game good, right? Game good. Fun, table friends. Right?
Caveman brain.
Fun, snack, friend. Huh? Yeah. Sometimes that's all it is. And it's surprising how impactful and meaningful being part of something like that can be.
When you explain it, makes it scary.
I know. It's scary. It's more scary to not, though.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's right. You should scare people into playing games.
It's like,
If you don't play this game, you're gonna die.
if you don't come over and make and like commit to spending at least 2 hours a month with us
You will
regularly,
die.
you're gonna die like 4 years faster.
You're
That's-
going to die alone if you
So-
don't play D&D.
Yeah.
And honestly, the stats are worse than are worse. Like that's a legit like too close to home. Like if you aren't spending time with other people in real relationship, like a couple hours a month, you're cutting away your life expectancy.
That's been difficult.
I like this conversation.
I'm sorry, we're gonna shift. So, what are other things that you use to give your characters? What do you use to what would motivate you to see something beyond yourself? Like, what do you hope to see in a campaign that you're like, this is gonna make me stay, like because it's bigger than yourself? Let's personalize a little bit. We'll shift away from my very scary, overly like this is why I like epic fantasy, because systems is how I think. Sorry, Jack.
Die 4 years early.
It's not. It's
more than that.
it's probably worse than
I'm
that.
gonna die tomorrow.
No, you're here with us weekly and stuff. You have built. Think of the last 6 months of community
You're safe.
that you've built,
You're
right?
Speaking of shifting, I didn't know.
Like, would you have known Braden and Meadow?
No.
Yeah. Would you have known Garen? Like, you've committed here on Mondays.
Fair.
I
Nathan, like
definitely would not
you.
have.
This is not you now
You're right.
because of
I'm gonna live
D&D Club.
forever.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's how I become a lich. Friends.
Yeah.
Friendship power, friendship.
Guys, I'm gonna live forever.
Maybe
Hell
the,
yeah.
maybe the true immortality is the friends we made along the way.
No, the true immortality is using their life force to live forever.
In danger.
That was solid. That was a crossover. So personally, so one of the big, and I think I joked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Jeez, when we talked about this last, but one of the big, jokes around D&D subreddits and whatnot is the hardest villain, the biggest BBEG.
Scheduling
Yeah,
conflict.
scheduling conflicts,
Yeah.
right? But it's not really scheduling conflicts. It's that people aren't motivated to schedule, right? Because if you care about being somewhere, you block off the time, right? If I want a date night, if I value date nights with my wife, I will put them on the schedule, right? Everything else is on the schedule in my life. Why wouldn't I put dates with my wife on the schedule? So similarly, the things we care about, we put, we negotiate around. So what are the things, what motivates you to negotiate around things?
I don't care about anything. This is sad.
Let's work backwards. We're going to go this way this time so Garen doesn't have to start. So what's something that motivates you to work, to schedule around it?
Like what would keep me engaged in a game? Is that what you're asking?
Sure, or it
basically?
can be about the game, or part of the fun of this is saying, where's this working somewhere else?
I don't think I understand the question.
So what is it that makes you feel like when you go there, or when you plan for that, nothing else gets to take its spot? Like if this goes on the schedule, I'm not saying I'm not canceling.
Like just in general,
Yeah,
like for anything.
yeah, because gamification works in all parts of life.
Probably like necessity. Like
Okay.
if I need money to be able to pay bills, so I have to go to work.
Yeah. And why is paying bills important? We're gonna walk this out.
I like not I like being able to afford the things that I need to stay alive, I guess.
Okay.
And I don't want to be sent to collections.
There's something. Yeah.
I don't like I don't know if I understand this question.
I know, and honestly,
Am I
it's
answering
like,
it right?
yeah, you're good. It's also tagging in like the other drives of motivation, so things like scarcity and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna
But,
say because
yeah,
I feel like necessity is gonna be most people's like top
Yeah.
motivator.
So that's something to think about as we continue around the table. So Leala, do you have what motivates you to not schedule over something, or to not put something else on the calendar? Also, Leala's, if you didn't notice, this is her fourth day with braces. So congratulations to Leala.
Oh, exciting! Maybe not. I guess it depends on how you feel about it.
I just don't like getting pointed out, but it's fine if.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'll immediately forget.
Yeah, sorry.
I've already purged the
I
information from
feel-
my mind.
Wait, what happened?
Don't worry about
Nothing.
it.
Nothing at all.
So
So,
was it my turn or what?
yes, go ahead.
There's your wants and what you prioritize, and your needs. Like I need friends, or like I miss gaming. I'm gonna do it this time.
Yeah.
And it's like work can wait. I don't really want to do a double shift anymore.
So,
I guess
Okay.
it's based on your wants, your needs, and your priorities.
Enrique, what keeps things from getting kind of double booked on your calendar?
Well, for me, it's just keeping like a schedule. Like for me, just once something's booked, it's booked. I can't double book stuff.
Yeah.
Just a need for this is how it is.
So what makes you decide what gets to be on the calendar?
If it's happening. So usually I don't like book anything unless somebody says, "Hey, book this," and I'm like, "Okay," and then I book it, and now I can't book anything over that.
Gotcha.
So I'm open until something needs to be booked, and then it's booked.
So it's more priority.
yeah,
like,
so
it
by scheduling it becomes a priority.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
For me, it's just something that's fun. I do whatever's fun, and then whatever I need to do, it's like down there.
That's the order.
That's the order for me,
Fun first, then work.
and then work. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So currently, I mean, D&D doesn't feel like a job to me.
Yeah.
So I'm here.
So if your boss ever told you that they really needed you to come in and work during D&D time,
I probably have to. Okay, it depends on where I'm at. If I need money, then I got to. But if I don't, then I'll probably still go. I don't want to, get cut.
Yeah, gotcha.
I need money.
Okay. So what's cool about what Josh and Enrique said is it really comes down for them to building their life in a way that allows for it, or that allows for a consistent part of their schedule to be available for this. That's what I'm hearing a little bit.
Can you repeat the question again?
So it was kind of like, when do big things motivate you in everyday life? Like, when do you feel like you're part of something bigger, or basically what keeps you from moving things around on your calendar? Like saying, "Oh, I can't make it. Sorry," even if you planned for it.
So, if anything, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm answering this. You've mentioned scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just back it up with an example. Within a week, there is a solar eclipse. If you guys didn't know about that,
It's
Yeah.
on my birthday.
It's on his birthday on Monday. this
and
week.
I am absolutely pissed that I cannot see it because of school.
Oh, the eclipse.
Yes,
You can just
And-
skip class.
everyone's and for me, I guess that it's something that happens extremely rarely, and is something that it's something that I've never had the chance to see before, like with my own eyes. So if I knew beforehand that this event was going to take place, because I have the tendency of finding out way too late, which also doesn't help. But if I knew beforehand, then I would have absolutely made sure that I would not have missed it.
Like you would have picked a different class. Like you would have got chosen a different like course schedule to it so that you'd be available.
Yeah,
during...
I would have made it happen somehow.
Gotcha.
I mean, what's still stopping you from?
Just keeping that.
Well, I don't know what time the eclipse is, but I mean, if you just skip like 5 minutes of class to go out and look at it, that's not the worst.
Well, it's not. It's
Is it missing
the path of totality is not in Arizona,
Oh.
and airplane prices, and chances are airplane prices are going to be through the roof during those times.
So, because you're thinking you would have flown to a place where you could see the fullness of it.
It's not as simple as just, oh hey teacher, I am going to step outside for 3 hours to drive to the nearest location of totality.
Oh, is it not visible here?
It's going
It
to
won't be a total eclipse.
Oh.
So we're still going to
It's going to be like-
because it is a huge
Yeah.
path, but the path of totality is pretty narrow.
Solar is the one where the sun blocks the moon, or the moon blocks the sun.
solar eclipse is where the
I don't
moon
think
blocks
sun
the
can block
sun.
the moon.
Yeah, the sun's too far away to
If
block
the
the
sun blocks the moon, we got problems.
Yeah, we have those serious problems.
We have bigger issues.
Solar eclipse is where
It says solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, and then apocalypse, and it shows the sun next to the earth.
solar eclipse is where the moon blocks out the sun. Lunar eclipse is where the Earth is between the sun and the moon. So the moon is.
I'm
in
gonna
like
forget
the
that
shadow.
immediately.
So,
What did I
That's
just
good.
say?
I don't know.
so you're motivated by the movement of celestial bodies. Gotcha.
No, it's
That sounds like most people I know.
it's more motivated by. It's
Sorry. Legos.
So
how many
I'm trying-
Lego sets do you have?
Okay, well, I
Don't worry
bought the
about it.
D&D Lego set, and both of these came free with it.
Oh, nice.
So
Both of them?
both of them.
Yeah.
This was because I paid a lot of money. This is because it was D&D.
Nice.
It's more motivated by how rare, or
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying. Yeah.
how rare the event is,
Yeah.
and
And that does connect to that
and my
scarcity.
desire
and-
to experience said event.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. What did you have, Garen? on?
Alright. I would say that Friends is one thing that takes very high priority on my list because I am skipping out on the
This is a lot more than-
either
Put this back up here too.
I'm skipping out on the my family going to the my am I skipping out on it or am I don't know my schedule, never mind. I was gonna say something but I don't even know if that's true, so never mind.
For next week?
Yeah, for next week.
Okay.
I'll probably be here next week.
Okay. Good to know.
He would probably.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk more about scarcity and patience. Here, we can jump to the second one here. So the next one, development and accomplishment. And we know that that's the internal drive of making progress, developing skills, and eventually overcoming challenges, right? And this is when you hear people discuss things that like when you know you've worked hard to accomplish a goal and it's all the little victories along the way and then it finally pays off, like that sense of development and accomplishment when you're grinding to get to the next level, that kind of thing.
Okay, so this is XP is XP.
Yeah, well, it is, but also, but there's two ways of thinking about this. So D&D obviously has levels, and any system, one of the things that Yu Chao shares is it's not just about. Let me just make sure I said his name right real fast. Yu Kai Chao says is it's not just gamification. Isn't just like levels and badges and tokens or whatever. And so one part of it, like D&D has that XP leveling where you gain abilities, and I can't wait till I'm a 5th level monk because then I'll get that
Extra
thing.
attack.
Right, exactly. Or I'll get one more Eldritch Blast Bolt or whatever it is. I can't wait till I get, Time Stop as a spell, right? So you get excited about leveling up. Those are the more traditional way of thinking about development and accomplishment. But sometimes it's also plot points. Sometimes it's I made this amount of progress, or like we were talking about, if at level 1 we find out that this town is thrashed by an invading army or something, and we start trying to repair it, and the sequence that leads us through level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 is choosing a different part of this to repair. And along the way, we don't just repair the buildings, we repair the people and their lives and their relationships. We find out that a son and a father, a grown son and a father aren't getting along, and we find a way to help them mend fences by literally mending fences and killing the dragon that broke it down or whatever, right? So sometimes that sense of development and accomplishment in game can feel like part of the motivation is like is knowing the rules if you're running the game enough to say wait till you get to this level on your character because that's going to be cool, or sometimes it's like hinting or foreshadowing forward at the potential that you could accomplish as you continue to put energy into this part of the campaign. Does that make sense? What are games or movies where you've seen this kind of happen in a story way, not necessarily just in a badges, tokens, XP, or special new abilities kind of way?
I think of games where you've got a central town, and you can see that town change as the game progresses. Like it ends up becoming larger, more buildings, or I'm thinking about Dirtmouth and Hollow Knight, which when you first go there, there's this one guy named Elderbug who's like, this town used to be a thriving town, but everyone went down the well and looked for adventure and never came back and probably all died. And then you go and you rescue Cornifer, the map maker, and he settles in the town. And then you find some other people, and eventually it becomes this whole place. And eventually he's like, wow, I never expected to see so many people here. And I feel like that shows not only developing the town Dirtmouth, but also accomplishment. Like, I brought all these people here. I made this community.
Nice, I like that. Anybody ever play Minecraft Dungeons? Okay, cool. I was thinking about how you can get
Villagers?
you get the new villagers, and they give you the ability to, like, I think one of them's a blacksmith, and so you can trade the thing.
Mystery gift.
Yeah.
There's
Luxury
Terraria.
merchant.
In Terraria, what does it make you think about?
Well, I was comparing, like, in Terraria you can build little houses, and depending on specific requirements, you get a little NPC that spawns in, and that little NPC has like specific stuff that you can buy from it. And this is something that they've added in to Terraria recently, is each NPC has other NPCs that they like and dislike. So if you and the things that they like and dislike, the things that they like and dislike translate into, can result in like changes in prices. So if you get an NPC that just really hates its neighbors, the prices will increase. So there's this part where if you can pair all of the little NPCs together in the most optimal way possible, you can like get the best prices and stuff.
Gotcha. So very cool. So finding the good combinations and that sort of thing is part of that development. So we switch to development and accomplishment.
What? Huh?
We switch to the second core drive of development and accomplishment, which
You're going
is
over more of them?
just two,
Okay.
like two each, and then we're about
Okay.
probably. But the internal drive of making progress, developing skills, eventually overcoming. Hey Ben.
Hello.
But yeah, so so we were talking about there's like part of D&D has the leveling ability and maybe acquiring magic items and that sort of thing. But traditional gamification would be like levels and badges and tokens and
Reward
prizes
system,
and reward system. Yeah. So that's kind of that's the traditional version. But we were also talking about what that looks like story arc wise. Is there ever like a sense of development and accomplishment and that sort of thing? Can anyone think of one more example and then we'll just call that good for
Sims
today?
free play.
Do what?
Sims free play.
Sim-
You get to grow families, build houses, and gain more furniture and stuff
That's
as you
true.
level up.
That's true. It's like the fast-paced version of life where you get to see you get to be reminded that earning a weekly paycheck does build a bigger house. It just takes a bit. Or family. Enrique, Josh Max. Any other examples you can think of where there's development in a game or a movie?
I feel like most have some kind of development, just
I'm
Otherwise,
trying to
narrative
think of an
movies.
example, but like the games in it, whenever you upgrade a place, you actually see the upgrade physically represented in the place becoming bigger or higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't think of an example of that right now.
The ship and Helldivers.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, yes.
true.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
The ship and
And-
Helldivers.
Yeah, in Helldivers you have like this like spaceship basically, and you can upgrade it. And the upgrades like you physically change the ship. Like you have more guns on your ship.
Nice.
The hangar's bigger. You have like different areas.
Yeah, it's like if you had some sort of airship and it started out with really lame crossbows or
And we
something.
never improved
Like,
it.
and you never
We're never
improved
going
it.
to
Like,
improve them. There's no place to
If there's-
improve them.
if there's a
Like whoever DM'd that,
that's such a
That's
good
a
point. I
crazy
haven't given you
idea.
guys anywhere that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Point and valid. I'm gonna work on this. Changeling, whatever the ship. Also, you could just have that big empty cargo hold. Like you guys could have like a. I was gonna build
Yeah, we
something
should
else.
move Goldman.
I will tell you, like this. I was once we got
Excuse
past
me?
the whole like Max being demon possessed, or no, I'm kidding, not that. It's not that. But Max's whole demon interaction situation. Howdy. Once we got through that, I was gonna have one of the crew come up to you guys, anyways. So this will happen in game. But basically, like, so the boy, so the crew's kind of getting bored with like dry jerky. Can we do something more here?
No.
So that may come up soon. We'll see if we get beyond the
Yeah,
dramatic
so any
points.
kind of like, yeah, I guess
But yeah.
some progression, like on like a ship or something. That's cool.
The last thing I'll say, or the last question I'll ask to close up the official like workshop, when it comes to development and accomplishment, can you think of a game that doesn't use this and you know that it became a less fun game because of it, because there was no sense of accomplishment or no sense that you or your character was developing through the process, or
I
no
don't
sense
play a
of
lot of
progression?
games, so
I'm trying to think, 'cause I feel like there is one recently.
like, which
that
ones
I
have bugged
played.
me recently? I'm trying to think.
Or what's a game that doesn't use this drive at all? It may use some other one, but it doesn't use that sense of accomplishment or development over time.
I think that's just anti-game. The whole point of a game is,
You know, I will say, like, a lot of, like, MMOs have an issue where they start really slow, and it doesn't feel like you're really getting anywhere. So that's what turns a lot of people off of them, like I know WoW really has that issue where you don't really hit your stride until, like, way later in the game. So, like, people will be like, oh, it doesn't feel like I've done anything, because you haven't really, despite the fact that you've been playing for, 30 hours.
30 hours and you haven't done anything? How do
Where
people
it feels-
play this?
Or it feels like patience.
I
They
would-
need patience.
Because, like, once you hit it, it's really fun.
I'd rather play a game that's really fun off.
Hmm.
Mhm.
We'll sink some time in Finn and know that it pays off.
I would say idle games.
Like what? Give me an example.
Cookie clicker. Like,
Okay.
so there's this,
Like Candy Crush style? Or is it
Um,
different?
so,
Idle games are very different, yeah.
so
Okay.
in an idle game, it's, you are, like, constantly developing, but there's a point where there's literally no form of interaction. You're just watching as a number goes up. And over time, just over time it just becomes less interesting.
I feel like in Minecraft sometimes there's points where there's nowhere you can go, no sense of accomplishment, like you've done everything you want to do. And
Or if you're in Minecraft creative mode, that you kind of lose. There are other things that are being triggered there, like other core drives in the gamification model, but you aren't getting development and accomplishment because you aren't having to earn it all. The sense of accomplishment or development is whatever plan you had, like the stages of building that plan. But there's not the sense of accomplishment of like mining for this so you can get this better axe, so that you can get this better thing, so that you can build that whatever. So yeah. All right, cool. With that, we'll call that done for today. The next two core drives I want to cover on Thursday will be empowerment and creativity and feedback. And then that's the first one. And then the second one is ownership and possession. So those will hopefully be fun little doo-wops here. Whoever wants to come in at, I think I've got it listed as 2:30 to 3:30.